Well, here we are. Here we are. It is Friday. And you know what that means? It's Paranormal Fridays. Guys, I'm telling you, we made it. This is the first Friday of 2022. That is pretty cool. You know, the other day I was in Bible study, and I tell you what, I am truly naturally blonde. I swear, because I said hello and happy 2012. Like, what am I thinking? I said 2012 during Bible study, and people are thinking, "Oh, he's lost it. It's official. Bishop has lost it." But I did. I don't know why. I don't know why I said that, but I did. I'll be the first to admit I said 2012. I don't know. I must have watched 2012, the movie, earlier that day or something. I don't know. And hello to all you guys, and welcome to the Sacred Division. This is the first Friday of 2022. So I got it right that time. And it is Friday. Paranormal Fridays. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have a lot to talk about, some really cool things to actually discuss. And I hope that so far, 2022 has been good to you. That's my hope. Now, remember, it's an age thing. Tootsie 8687 said it's an age thing. Well, let me tell you something. It must be because man, I don't know. It's one of those things. What are you going to do? Moment dyslexia. I don't know. It's kind of it happens, right? It happens. Wizardry and magic. Well, we'll talk about that. That's a good question. So everybody, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for being here. And make sure you tell all your friends about it. Say, hey, you need to come on over here. You know, on a Friday night, we're having Paranormal Fridays. We'll talk anything and everything paranormal. I'll try my best to answer your questions. Thank you there, Val. And I'll do my best to answer all your questions that's related to the paranormal, to demonology, to pretty much anything related to the paranormal. You know, I've always said, and I do believe this, demonology is not paranormal. Demonology is theological. And so I've always pretty much said that. But the paranormal, I love anything and everything related to the paranormal. I mean, I've always been a fan of the paranormal. I've loved the paranormal since I was a kid, and that has not gone away. I can promise you that. So anyway, you just watched the Bobby Mackey's episode in Ghost Adventures. Yeah, that was a crazy. You know, that was the show that really, in my opinion, plateaued the Ghost Adventure show. It really just, and it wasn't because, again, I want to make this clear. It has nothing to do because I was on the show. That has nothing to do with it. It's because that show really had so much evidence. It was crazy. I was there. I witnessed what was captured. I witnessed the evidence. It was insane. The evidence that we captured that clearly showed that there was something there. So, yeah, it was. I don't know. What are you going to do? We did get snow. We did get snow in Kentucky, and I love snow. For those of you who may not know, but I love winter. I love the cold, and I love snow. And we finally got some snow in Kentucky, so it's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Okay. Let's get into some questions, and then we will definitely get into the paranormal. I have a lot of really cool articles that I want to share with you. I mean, really cool articles. We do that every single week right here. But before we do, I want to remind everybody, the producer on the Sacred Division has reminded me, and I'm glad he did. Folks, I want you to write this website down. Okay, just write it down. I can't believe I'm saying write it down. I'm so old because people don't write things down anymore. They just, type it in their computers or whatever. But anyway, if you're at a computer, then open up a web browser and type in KGRAD as in dog, db.com. Okay, so don't worry, I'll say that again. So again, it's www. KG as in giraffe, RAD as in dog, B as in boy.com. So KGAR Oh, shit. KGRADB.com. Yes, I said the S word. KGRADB. It's, you know what? That's what happens when you get old. You can't read the darn things. KGRADB. Yep. .com. Okay. And I want you to go to that website. And I want you to sign up. And here's why. First of all, it's very, very inexpensive. And it has a lot of amazing, and I mean amazing, paranormal shows. And I am very proud to let you know that the Sacred Division is a part of those shows. And I'm telling you, you get full access. You get full access to these shows, but you need to make sure that you type in Bishop. I think that's correct. Just let me know. I think that's the correct Bishop, because if you do that, then there is a percentage that goes back to the ministry. So you actually help the ministry when you sign up. So and again, go to the website, and it's well, I've got to put it on here, don't I? Let me show it. There it is. KGRADB.com. And moderator, I'll answer your questions in just a second, I promise you. Well, thank you very much, Big Country. I appreciate that. Do me a favor, moderators, if you would put that in there, I appreciate that. So again, it's KGRADB.com. And you actually get 30% off the subscription. It's already cheap enough, but you get 30% off. You got to type in the code Bishop, and you get 30% off. That's huge. And I'm telling you, these shows are amazing. They are really good quality shows. I have looked through some of these shows, and they are, man. If you like the paranormal, which most of you do, you're going to love, because it's hard to find quality shows, in the paranormal. But I got to tell you, this is pretty cool stuff. I mean, literally, if you go into the shows and events, my gosh, they have so many shows you can choose, including the Sacred Division on Fridays. There are so many shows. And I got to tell you, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And I think you'll too. I really do believe you will like it as well. So do yourself a favor and go to the website and get it. And 30% off. So folks, you're getting 30% off. You're saving already just simply by using the code. Make sure you put the code Bishop so you can save 30% off. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yep, there it is. Code Bishop for 30% off monthly or yearly. Gosh, that's pretty cheap. Yeah. So that's good. There we go. So make sure you go to that KGRADB.com. Okay, let me ask a question, because people are asking me. I do post this. I've been doing this now for 20 years, this ministry for 20 years. And I do it quite often. So let me just share a couple things with everybody, because people always ask me about the church that I belong to, my history, and because I know that there's a lot of people who are new. And so I'm very, very transparent in all the television shows that I've done, and being in the paranormal now for 35 years, but 20 years actually ministry and books. I tell you, I pretty much, I'm an open book. So let me just tell you, 35 years ago, I studied. Actually, I didn't. I went to the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. At that time, it was completely abandoned. And a buddy of mine and myself, we just wanted to go, because actually the owners wanted. He didn't care. They basically, he was wanting people to destroy it, which is unfortunate, because he wanted to tear it down and build a huge Jesus statue to replace it. But we didn't go there we didn't want to destroy anything. We just wanted to go see it for this, because we've heard it was haunted, and that. So we went up there, and that was my first paranormal experience, and that was really intense. That was really, really intense. And I'll tell you, and then I'll give you a history of me so that you can understand, you can know my background, because You have every right to know. For those of you who are just turning in brand new, well, welcome. So me and my buddy, it was 35 years ago, we went to Waverly Hills, and we went to the entrance, and as we went in, there were papers everywhere, file cabinets. It was just, papers were just scattered everywhere. And these were actually patients. I mean, we would pick up these papers, and they had patients' names. I didn't understand that was kind of odd how they would allow that, but they did. So, but there was an old wheelchair, and it was on the side. It was on the side, and the wheels, it was really rusty. But we kept hearing what sounded like a whimper and like a cry. And we thought that this is kind of strange. I mean, that's kind of odd. I mean, obviously this is an old abandoned sanatorium. So why are we hearing, it sounded like a little kid crying. So we walk up the stairs, and I think we got up to the third floor, I think it was second or third floor. I just can't remember, but down the hallway, it got louder and louder. That this crying got louder and louder. And we kept going further and further, and it was echoey. We could hear it, it got louder. It was very clear. By the time we got closer, we knew it was a little child, because it sounded like a little child. And I thought, oh my gosh, did a little kid come up here and get lost, or can't find the way out? That's exactly what I was thinking, that a little child came up here and just playing around and got lost, because anybody could have walked in and out. I mean, that was just the way it was in Waverly at that time. So as we got closer to, it was like the bathroom area, it was very echoey, and it was no doubt there was someone in there. We kept saying, who's in here? What's your name? Who are you? There was no response. It was just kept crying. So I walked into the bathroom, and I said, we're here to help you. What's your name? That kind of stuff. And I opened the first stall. There's nothing there. And I opened the second stall, and nothing. And just as I was going to the final stall in the bathroom, I was getting ready to open it, and when I tell you this thing shook, it was not like a small little, it was so violent, as if Arnold Schwarzenegger was in there shaking it so violently. And I mean, it just shook like crazy. Let me tell you, I've said this a million times. We ran down the stair. I really truly believe, I don't think we hit any stairs. We were running, or steps. We ran so fast. We were out of there. And as we got down to the to the auditorium where we first entrance, the wheelchair that we saw where it was rusted, the wheel that was rusted was moving back like this. Like someone had just, and to this day, I have no idea how that wheelchair, number one, the wheel was moving, because when we first checked it out, it was rusted. It was not moving at all. But that wheel was moving. And that was it. We were like, okay, no, we're done. We're out of here. And of course, I was, 35 years ago. So we took off. We were gone. We were out of it. And so, but that was my first experience in the paranormal, as far as the paranormal investigation. That was not my first paranormal experience. Now, so I will tell you that. But I want to remind everybody, please don't forget. Make sure you go to KG as in giraffe, RAD as in dog, B.com. KGRADB.com. And make sure you sign up. Sign up today. You get 30% off the subscription, and there are lots of great shows on there, paranormal shows, quality shows. And make sure you use the code BISHOP. You got to use the code BISHOP to get 30% off. So don't forget. Waverly's huge. Waverly is gigantic. I mean, it is a huge place. When you go there, it is just, it's overpowering. So anyway, people were asking about my experience or who I am as far as that kind of stuff. Well, I've always known I wanted to be a priest. There was no question. Even at 5 years old, I remember I wanted to be a priest. And I remember pointing at the priest, and my mom said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And we were at church, and I said, "I want to do what he does." And that has never stopped. That has only grown. That is only, it's gotten even more intense as I grew older. So after, when I was 18, I decided I could have gone into the seminary, but I decided, you know what? I need to live life a little bit. I need to experience what, what it's like to pay bills, what it's like to pay rent, what it's like to have to pay a car insurance. I wanted to experience life a little bit before I went into the seminary, because that was important for me. So I did. And, but then the intensity of wanting to be a priest grew. I mean, just grew, even increased 100-fold. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. I just couldn't. And so I decided that it was time for me to enroll in the seminary. So I went to the Roman Catholic Church, to the Archdiocese, and I applied. And I went through the process. The process is extensive. It is extensive. It's not easy. There's a lot that you have to go through before they'll even allow you into the seminary, which they should. So I went through the whole process, the psychological evaluation. I did everything that was required. And I was accepted. And I went to St. Meinrad in St. Meinrad, Indiana, which is beautiful, one of the most beautiful places in the world. So I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years. And so I received my bachelor's degree from Loyola University in Chicago. And then I went to 2 years of graduate school in the seminary, because it's actually 8 years to be a Roman Catholic priest. So I had received my minor orders, and I was very close to actually being about a year being away from being ordained a deacon in the Roman Catholic priesthood. But through prayer, I really felt that God was calling me to serve within the Old Catholic Church for a variety of reasons. Because I wanted to be able to administer to everybody, regardless of your faith or your religious affiliation, your gender, your sexual orientation. To me, I wanted to be able to minister to everyone. And that was not an easy decision. That was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. It truly was. It was not easy, but I decided to join the Old Catholics. And the Old Catholic Church very quickly, very, very quickly, branched away from the Roman Catholic Church in 1890s over papal infallibility. So the Pope said, I'm infallible, and the church in Utrecht in Netherlands said, no, you're not. There's no man that's infallible except for Jesus Christ. So there was a split within the church. So I belong to the Old Catholic Church. Now, for those of you who say, well, that's not valid. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood. Yeah, it is. Read it. Dominus Jesus. It's very clear. It was written by Pope Benedict, and signed also by Pope John Paul. And it's very, very clear that any church that has apostolic succession is considered validly Catholic. And I can show my apostolic succession to Peter. In other words, Peter laid hands upon this apostle laid hands upon that apostle. That's valid ordination. Also, the Roman Catholic Church does acknowledge our ordinations and consecrations. So anyway, people always want to argue about that, but I really don't care. I'm not here to do a Bible study. But anyway, so I was ordained a deacon, priest, and consecrated to the episcopacy. I was a bishop. I'm a bishop of the Old Catholic Church, and I received my doctorate in ministry. I have a master's of education from Argosy University. I have a master's of business from Sullivan University, graduated summa cum laude, and I have a master's of divinity. And then, of course, the bachelor's and all that other stuff. So anyway, there it is. That's the whole big, long story. I studied with the Jesuits, and I studied with the Benedictines, which was probably the best years of my life. Absolutely best years of my life. Okay, so there we go. All right. Now, what other questions do we have besides? Because again, I don't want to go into a whole big spiel about this, because I talk about it so much, and I've talked about it now for 20 years, and I talk about it on TikTok and everywhere else. So it's pretty much advertised. Even if my website's pretty clear, if you go to bishopjameslong.com, very, very clear. My background is all there. Questions and answers is all there. And I put it up right on the table. Okay. And by the way, for those of you on TikTok, thank you so much for the gifts. I really do appreciate that. With the Old Catholic Church, we are self-funded. We don't get paid. We do not get churches. We do not receive a retirement. We actually pay for our ministry out of our own pocket. We fund our own ministry. So we don't get a paycheck ever. And so that's why when I do presentations, that I talk and I do TikTok, and people offer gifts, it's because I get thousands of requests every single day from people asking me to come to their home and bless their home because they're dealing with some very serious activity. Well, I have to find a way to get to Texas or get to Georgia or get to Florida or get to California. I have to find a way to do that. And I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have my own private plane. So it can cost a lot of money to travel to some, and I don't charge. I've never charged. I never charged one penny. Never once. Never once. There are people who do. I do not charge ever. So if those of you who are going to bitch and complain and say that you don't like me because of this, I really don't care. That's one thing you can't ever say about Bishop James Long. I have never charged. I paid out of my own pocket to get to people's homes. The reason being is because people are already going through extreme stress. And the last thing that I'm going to do is take advantage of them and say, okay, I can do it for $10,000. That is sinful, it's unethical, and it's wrong. I've had people say, Bishop Long, get to my home and I'll put a second mortgage on my home. Just get to my home. I've had plenty of people tell me this, but I have a zero tolerance. So anybody that I work with, all the teams, the demonologists that I work, we never charge a penny. Not one penny, never will. So I do this because this is a ministry and it's not easy. It's very difficult. I get a lot of crap from people. But here's what's in it. People say to me, oh, why do you sell all that stuff? Why do you sell all that stuff online? Well, I do it because I have to raise money in order to get to people's homes. But it's funny that those people who complain and moan and groan about it, I've said this a million times. Then I tell you what, if you don't like me letting people know that I have this ministry and that I have an online store that helps me and to get to people's homes, then open your checkbook and make a donation so then I don't have to sell anything. Just like that, it's crickets. Absolute crickets. But again, that's what happens. So Bishop James Long, Long. I'll talk about wizards and all that stuff. Bishop James Long, Long.com. That is the website. So you can just scroll down and you can make whatever donation you wish. I help single moms, young mothers who leave an abusive relationship, and they try to get their lives back in order. And yes, they do apply for assistance, but government assistance takes time. So it might take a month before they see any time. I've helped single moms who leave an abusive relationship. I help them with food or with electric, or sometimes if I can help with a deposit, if they're trying to move away. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've done homeless ministry. I go to Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and I pass out food and clothes and tents to the homeless. I've been in the homeless ministry for 30. I was a homeless shelter coordinator, actually, for a homeless shelter in Kentucky. So, and I've been doing, of course, the ministry, blessing people's homes and exorcisms for 20 years now. And in every single one of those ministries, I've never charged one penny. Not one penny. So you can think whatever you want to about me, but one thing you can never say, that you can never, ever say that Bishop Long has ripped people off. You can call me anything. And people have. They've called me every name in the book. I've even gotten death threats. Folks, do you know that it was 15, maybe 17 years ago, so when I actually got death threats. It was so severe that when I went to paranormal conferences, they had to hire police to actually be near me because the death threats were so credible. All because I don't judge people. I don't condemn. If you want to worship the moon and say that's your God, well, that's your right to do so. But I don't judge you. I don't condemn you for it. I don't agree with it, but that's your right. And when I went on Ghost Adventures, and then the History Channel, and pretty much all the networks, it was terrible. I mean, the death threats got really crazy. As a matter of fact, when I did Exorcism Live on the Travel Channel at the actual Exorcist house, so it's called Exorcism Live. It was 2015, and it was at the Exorcist house in St. Louis. So they asked me to go and perform the minor rite of exorcism. And this was live. This was a live television show. It was huge, gigantic production. But there was people. There was a large crowd on the corner, and they were Satanists, and they were self-declared Satanists, and they were actually doing curses, and they were chanting death to Bishop Long. So the police had to actually show up and corner that section off because they were afraid that somebody might do something stupid. So literally, the police were there. There was a huge section of people, and they were doing these curses on the sidewalks and on the streets and chanting death to Bishop Long because I was there at the exorcism live. True story. It's crazy. But that's, what are you going to do? Okay. The old versus Roman. I'll explain, but I really don't want to get into a huge conversation about it, only because when you start talking about, this is Paranormal Fridays, and I try to keep paranormal versus, the Bible study, separate. But I'll just simply say the difference between the Roman Catholic Church and the old Catholic Church is obviously the Roman Catholic Church sees the pontiff as the leader of the church. We acknowledge that the Pope is the Bishop of Rome, but the head of the church is Jesus Christ. And in each bishop in the old Catholic Church has their own jurisdiction. So in some old Catholic jurisdictions, you might be very liberal, and some might be very conservative. Others are moderate. And so that's how there's a lot more to it as well. So anyway, there are some old Catholics that will only have Mass in Latin, and some. So that's the problem. It's so diverse. It's not a one group, people. So, all right. But anyway, that's you can go to bishopjameslong.com. You're more than welcome to go to bishopjameslong.com. You can read all the information there. I have a lot of information there on the old Catholic Church. So there you go. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Justin. All right. So someone was asking me about wizardry and magic. Okay. Personally, and this is my personal opinion, I don't need wizardry or magic in my life. And the reason is I don't need it or seek it is because when I have an issue, or if I am wanting God, hopefully, to answer my prayers, I go to the ultimate and main source, and that's God. So for me, I don't seek out wizardry or magic. There are some people who truly believe it. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to debate that. But for me, if there's an issue, then I go to the one main source that is the ultimate source, and that's God. So there we go. Okay. I don't know about all animals, but I absolutely believe 1,000,000% that animals can absolutely see ghosts. There's no question. Let me tell you something. I have had cases where there were animals present, and we actually had EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon. We had a digital recorder, and the animals they got really intense. And these are animals that were just lap dogs. And they were there at investigations, and they were growling like crazy. We didn't see anything, but we have EVPs EVP stands for electronic voice phenomenon. It's a digital recorder that you can use, that you can say, is there anyone here? And most of the time you don't hear anything, but if you play it back, you can actually hear something. And with this, we actually played back some of the record, and we heard, hello, is anyone here? Yes. I mean, these were Class A EVPs. So Class A means you can clearly hear it. There was and it's intelligent. It's an intelligent response. It's not just, gargle stuff. It actually, you can hear a very intelligent response. And so there's clearly something. We actually have data that says that when these animals were terrified, and the EVPs will back up what they're able to see. And people say, well, why is that? Because there's no filter. Rousseau was a fantastic philosopher. And Rousseau said, beautiful, human beings are angelic by nature. It's the institutions that corrupt us. And I absolutely believe that with all my heart. No question about that at all. And so in other words, the institutions say, "Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts," or you're just being silly, or whatever. Well, Rousseau would say, "Well, that's institutions that corrupt us." So, but we actually we have this. We have evidence that shows that animals can, in fact, receive some type of information. Okay. Yeah, they say animals can sense death, and that's a good Gene. Is it Gene Bean? Gene Bean on TikTok says animals can sense death. That absolutely, without question, has been proven. It's been proven because there was a cat at I believe at a nursing home, and they actually have this. And this cat, every time it would visit someone, they would pass away. And let's see, predicts death. Here it is, right here. Oscar, that's the name of the cat. And this has been written about, documented. I mean, New York Post. I mean, there's been so many, but listen to this. This is fascinating. It says here, and this is again from Crossroad Hospice. Crossroadhospice.com. Listen to this, everybody. Oscar, the cat that predicts death and provides comfort. Again, the website is crossroadshospice.com. It says here, time and time again, animals have proven the ability to provide an unparalleled level of comfort for end-of-life patients. Yet, what has famously transpired at Steere, Steere House Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Providence, Rhode Island, over the past decade has, quite frankly, still managed to leave us speechless. What has famously transpired is the story of Oscar, the hospice cat, known for his ability to predict death and comfort patients who will soon pass away. A story so compelling that even Dr. David Dosa, a health researcher at Brown University, which is very prestigious, and a geriatrician working with patients at the Steere House, actually wrote an entire book about this. This is amazing. So you can check this out if you want to. Again, for those of you who want to know this, it is Oscar is the name, and it's Steere House Nursing and Rehabilitation. Steere, again, it's Steere. But apparently that's what happens with this cat. And let me just say a little bit about this. Let's see. It says here, in 2005, Oscar's beginning, Oscar was initially sort of a very scared cat. Dr. Dosa tells Crossroads Hospice. He wouldn't really like to come out. He would keep to himself. Oftentimes, you'd find him in a supply closet or under a bed somewhere. And it wasn't really until somebody was near death that Oscar would sort of come out front and center. So he says it began gradually, a regular therapy cat in the dementia unit, where unfortunately death is a common occurrence, would go about his usual cat business until somehow he sensed that the end was coming for a patient nearby. Oscar would essentially come out from his hiding, find the patient in need, crawl up to them for comfort, and hold a little vigil in their honor. My God, that is powerful. I mean, that's powerful. And he said there was something very special about it. Certainly it was. As it turned out, by the way, listen to this. Dr. Dosa, he's a medical doctor, explains this. We would eventually find out after he did this several times that the people he was staying with were usually the next ones to go. One death occurred, then 2 deaths occurred, and ultimately he hit about 20 or 30 deaths in a row, at which point everybody started to say, wow, this is something very unique. Isn't that insane? So 2000, by the way, so how is Oscar known today? Well, listen to this. People's reactions to such phenomenon vary. Some people call Oscar the angel of death, and others just an angel. Perhaps Oscar exhibits some type of spiritual connection beyond what humans have yet to discover. Or maybe cats and dogs can quite literally smell the future. Dr. Dosa says that I think that ultimately your guess is as good as mine. It could be likely that he's responding to some smell when cells start to break down. But that's all speculation. That's amazing. That just, to me, that's pretty powerful. So again, it's Oscar the cat at Steere House Nursing and Rehabilitation. That's pretty powerful. That really is. Okay. So what, let's see, and then we can ask some other question. Would you be afraid of, let's see, would you be afraid if an angel showed up there to vision? No, I would not be afraid if it was an angel. Certainly not. But keep in mind, don't forget that demonic entities are fallen angels. And so we can't forget this. So let's just remember that angels, fallen angels, can certainly lie and pretend to be something that they're not. So just demons, most certainly they're real. But let me just say this: that people ask me all the official. Let me just say, people ask all the time, "Are demons real?" Guys, let me tell you this again, and I'm not saying this for egotistical purposes. I'm saying this to make a point. I have a doctorate in ministry. I was a college dean. I was a department chair for general education studies. I was a college instructor. I have a doctorate in ministry and 3 master degrees. I will tell you this very plainly. I don't charge, and I have never charged for this ministry, nor will I ever. If I did not know, not think, if I did not know that demons are real, and if I did not know that possession is real, I swear to you, I would do something else with my time. I'm limited on my time as it is because I'm a chaplain for a hospital. I volunteer my time as a chaplain, and I do quite a few hours during the day as a chaplain. So I visit a lot of people who are near death, and I anoint them. I give, obviously, the extreme unction, what we call it. And so I'm telling you that I don't have a lot of time even for myself. If I didn't know, again, this is not think, this is not a guess. If I did not know that possession existed, I promise you, I would be doing something else with my time. Because if I was being paid for this, then you could argue, well, you're just doing this to get a paycheck. But I've never charged. I have never charged one penny, not one penny for this ministry. I pay for it out of my own pocket. I teach English online. That's how I fund my ministry, my own money. So I'm telling you, if I'm willing to put my own money in, and people say, well, people donate. Okay, people might donate on average per month, and I have all the statistics because I have to do every year. I have to do taxes. So last month, people, as far as the donations here, it was $125. It went in some change. Okay, so but last month, I spent $2,100. Do the math. So $125, and I spent $2,100. Hello. I mean, that's pretty much telling you I'm putting a lot of my own money in this ministry. And I do this because I know that possession exists. I know that demons exist. I know that people are suffering from hell with demonic infestation, where the demonic has infested themselves in people's homes. Let me tell you, all you got to do is speak to somebody who's been through it, and then you won't ever question it again. Or God forbid, and I hope this never happens, but if you yourself experience it, then you'll never ever ask the question again, do demons really exist? People say, well, prove to me that demons exist. I'm not here to prove to you that demons exist. I'm not here to do that, because no proof that I show certain people, there's no proof that they will ever believe. I could have a demon right in front of me, tell the person you exist, and they still would not agree with. They still would say it. I'm not here to prove to you that demons exist. I'm here to help the families who know they do. That's how I live my life. And I spend a lot of money every year, my own personal money, because people go through hell. They are going through hell. And many times their preachers refuse to help them because they don't want anything to do with demons. And so that's where people like myself come in to help these families. The other day, a family was talking to me and they were saying, please help us. We need some assistance. They're crying. They're upset. They're legitimately upset. They're staying at a family's house. They refuse to go back into their home. They refuse. I mean, literally all hell is breaking loose in this house. And the very first question the mom and the father asked, because it was on the conference call, is, okay, we need to know how much this is going to cost, because obviously we're stressed for money, but we need to do anything we can to get you here. And when I told them, I said, well, what do you mean how much it cost? Well, how much we need to know, because otherwise we're going to have to put a second mortgage on the home or something. We need to know how much. It doesn't cost you anything. When I said that, it was hard for me to keep, from getting emotional, because I heard the mom started crying in the background. She just stepped away. And the dad, and I heard her husband, his voice was shaky. And he was having a hard time because it was emotional for him, because they thought, okay, now we're going through this hell with the demonic, and now we got to go through financial hell to get clergy to come out and help them. But when I told him it doesn't cost you anything, there's no fee, there's never a fee. He didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to process that. But that's my ministry. That's what I've been doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I've been doing it quite often and quite a lot. But there we go. That's what I do. So for those of you who donate on TikTok, you guys help me continue my ministry. And those of you who go to my website, you guys help me do my ministry, because I can't do it without you. I never asked for help. For 15 years, I did this on my own. Never once did I ask for help. Not ever. But then I thought, you know what? I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have millions in dollars. I've got to have to ask for help. I have to. I can't keep doing this by myself. I just can't. So that's why I decided to have my online classes, which I do. I teach demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. I teach those online, and that goes to funding the ministry. So there we go. Yep, Chip Coffey is a good buddy of mine. Now, he was on Exorcism Live as well. Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, it is smart. It is smart that I asked for help. It was hard for me to do that, but then I had to say, no, I can't keep doing this. I just can't. No, I don't. I don't. I have not met Ryan or the sister, so I've not met them. If you need assistance, you can contact. You can go to usocc@yahoo.com. You can send me an email there. But just keep in mind, guys, please. And I'm not being rude. I'm really not being rude. But well, you can't see it, but I can do it, you guys, because the green screen. But there is 6,700 email messages, and that's in 2 days. So please understand that it's going to take time. I'm only one person, and I do 12 to 14 hours a day as a clergy, as a hospital chaplain. So I get through the emails as much as I can, but obviously I can't go through 6,000 emails or almost 7,000 emails a day. I just can't do it, but I do the best I can. Okay. All right. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And by the way, I just want to make everybody please know that if you go to Bishop James Long, I need to do this. I just haven't had time. I mean, I literally rushed here to do the show. Don't hold off on the Benedictine bracelet. A lot of people will like the Benedictine bracelet. There's the 4 bracelets that I have, or the bracelet with the 4 faces. Purchase that instead, because the Benedictine bracelet's on back order, and that's going to take some time. It could be February or March by the time I get it in. So if you're going to buy the bracelet, make sure you buy the one that has the 4 different faces, because then it's a Benedictine bracelet, and it's a St. Michael bracelet, and it's a Jesus and Mary bracelets all in one. So if you go to bishopjameslong.com and you click on the store link, make sure you purchase the one with the four faces. I'm sorry, I just haven't had time. I haven't had time to fix it. I rushed here to do the show, so yeah, I do, Heidi. But the problem is people saying you need volunteers to help you with emails. The issue is, you're right. The problem is people will send me very, very personal and private emails, and that's where you have to be very careful and respectful to people. You know what I mean? Because there are some really serious issues, and it's not all paranormal. So it could be other personal and private issues. So that's the problem. Okay. How do you get into this line of work? Well, keep in mind, this line of work is a ministry. And one of the most important things to understand is this is a calling from God. This is not something you wake up and decide you're going to do on a Friday night. This is a true ministry. I've done this for 20 years. And I've seen anything and everything you can possibly imagine, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I implore you, please don't get involved with this ministry unless you are really called, because it is a ministry. Just kind of keep that in mind. I'm in the UK. Would you ever come and do a talk in our group about what we've never had something like this? And I'm interested. Well, Lydia, I would love to do this. Now, as far as would I ever come to UK, there's no way I could afford a plane ticket to the UK. There's no way. I would love to go. I would love, but that's just something that I just couldn't do. However, but what I would be more than happy to do is maybe a Zoom or something like that. I have no problems doing that. And that might be a little bit better as far as feasible. Okay. Yes, I do have people working with me. As a matter of fact, there's a couple individuals. There's Mike Zimmerman, and there is Draven Dess, and there is Deacon Tommy Golden, who I am going to be mentoring in demonology. As a matter of fact, we just set up a date and time so that I'll be teaching them, and they're going to become religious demonologists for the church. We also, keep in mind, Rich Valdez is a demonologist for the church as well. I started the paranormal clergy about 18 years ago, and because there was no organization helping. There was no organized organization. So I needed teams all across the United States. And what I do is when I have a case, I created the paranormal clergy, and they would go out and they would investigate these cases, all for free. And they would try to debunk what's going on in the homes. But they would gather the information, and then if they think it warranted the church's attention, they would say, hey, Bishop Long, here's all the evidence. You need to pretty much pay attention to this. And that's how we operate. Because I couldn't go from New York to Florida to Texas. I couldn't fly everywhere. I just couldn't do it. So I had teams all across the United States. So now Rich Valdez owns the paranormal clergy. I gave him the paranormal clergy, and he's the director now and owner. And so we have teams all across the United States, and that's how we have groups go out and investigate to gather the information. So this ring is my bishop ring. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're going to keep pushing it. We're going to push. We're going to definitely keep pushing forward on this. It's not easy, but no one ever said it was. And so let me see. Hold on one second. Oh, there's a question over here, but I couldn't see the screen. Okay. Yes, I knew Lorraine. I knew Lorraine Warren. Yeah. She was a wonderful, wonderful person. Loved her dearly. She was just a very sweetheart of a person. I never got the chance to meet Ed, but Lorraine was pretty fantastic. Pretty cool person. So, okay, we had 3,000 people on there. It's a private group. We would be so intrigued what you talk about. So interesting. Well, Lydia, what you can do is you can send me a message on Facebook. Since I see that you're on Facebook, send me a message on Facebook, instant message, and we can talk about that. Okay, I'll be happy to do that. Okay, succubus. All right, there's an incubus and succubus. An incubus is a demonic entity that will attack, and it's, I got to be careful because there might be children listening, so I got to be very, very careful with this. A succubus is a demonic entity that attacks men on a sexual nature. An incubus will attack women in a sexual nature. And in the beginning, it is not aggressive. But then it becomes incredibly aggressive. As a matter of fact, I had Angie on here, and she was the daughter of, her name is June. And June was in her late 60s, early 70s. And she was severely attacked by an incubus. As a matter of fact, Angie, God bless her, but Angie went on this show and she gave an interview about what her mom endured. And she verified everything what her mom went through, everything. And it was terrible. That was a very violent case. But for those of you who don't know, people think that incubus and succubus wouldn't be a bad thing, but you're wrong. It's very, very bad. It's very violent. And understand that this is not something that the church created. There's a lot of theories that the Roman Catholic Church created all these demons. That's not true at all. As a matter of fact, the earliest mentions of the incubus and succubus actually comes from Mesopotamia in 2400. Well, Gilgamesh's father is listed as I'm not going to go into the names, but this demonic had attacked an individual, and it's pretty violent. So that's basically incubus and succubus. And there actually, if you see it, there's many variations of incubus. It's a theme around the world. This is not just in the United States or in certain areas. It's also in Hungary. It's everywhere. In Mexico, we see in German folklore. It's everywhere. So it's not. Many people have discussed this, and it's pretty violent. Pretty violent. Okay. How often is this happening? The incubus and succubus. As a matter of fact, let me find that. That's a great question. Let me see if I can find this for you, because I actually did some research on this for you guys. And let me pull up. Hold on one second. There we go. Sorry about that. I got to find it. See, this iPad, this is a very old iPad, and acts stupid sometimes. Let me give you some incubus statistics, because a lot of people don't realize how often it does occur. And so instead of just me rambling on and telling you, I thought I would give you some actual statistics that were done. So listen to this. In the meta-analysis, which was published in November in the journal Frontiers in Psychiatry. So this is an actual science magazine, if you will. It's in psychiatry. This is not just a silly little, gosh, gossip website. No, this is actually science. The researchers looked at 13 studies of the incubus phenomenon that included nearly 1,800 people. Now, keep in mind, the different studies, it actually came from various countries, including Canada, United States, China, Japan, Italy, and Mexico. This is fascinating. The researchers found that over 1 in 10 people, or basically 11% of the general population, will experience the incubus phenomenon in their lifetime. Now, when you think about that's a problem. That is a very serious problem. So that means basically there's an 11% chance for any given individual to experience this at least once during their lives. But in certain groups, the odds of encountering an incubus are higher. Among people with psychiatric disorders, as well as among refugees, somewhat surprisingly students, the odds of experiencing the incubus phenomenon are as high as 41%, a psychiatrist had stated. Now, the analysis also found that people sleeping on their backs, are more likely to experience the phenomenon. Now, alcohol consumption, obviously, and irregular sleeping patterns also make an incubus visit more probable. Now, though the frightening experience gets frequently dismissed just as a bad dream, the author noted that incubus phenomenon can lead to additional problems, including anxiety, difficulty sleeping due to fear, and delusional disorder. Now, by the way, in this research, the researchers speculated about a possible link between the incubus phenomenon and a sudden unexpected death syndrome. It's a situation in which a healthy person inexplicably dies in his or her sleep. That, to me, is just absolutely fascinating. Now, keep this in mind. This is not sleep paralysis. Okay, so we're not talking about sleep paralysis. To those of you who are in the paranormal, there's a term called the old hag syndrome. The old hag syndrome is based on sleep paralysis. I had a neurosurgeon on the show, and this is how he described sleep paralysis. So listen carefully. This is his information, not mine. This is a neurosurgeon. So this is someone who's obviously far more advanced than I am, or probably most of us who are watching this later or now. The neurosurgeon said that there is a difference between isolated sleep paralysis, which is called ISP, or recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, which is RISP. Now, normally ISP can last up for a few seconds, up to 30 minutes, up to. And that's rare, but that's isolated. Recurrent isolated sleep paralysis means it's recurring more than just once. Now, he said in either situation, the individual should be tested for narcolepsy, especially if you have what's called RISP, recurrent isolated sleep paralysis. Here's what happens. The way he described it, the part of our brain that dreams is the subconscious. If you have an episode that occurs when you're going to sleep or when you are just waking up, and you see a horrible figure or the dark figure coming closer to you, and this figure could look like even a monster, it could look anything, and you are catatonic. It means you can't move, you can't scream, you can't do anything. He described that as isolated sleep paralysis, because what's happening is as you're going to sleep, the subconscious, the part of the brain, is the part of the brain that dreams, is controlling now the motor functions of the actual brain. The consciousness is slowly drifting off to sleep, but you're still consciously aware. And the subconscious then projects an image that obviously the consciousness is not supposed to be aware of, because that's where you dream. But you can see this image because you're still conscious, but yet the subconscious is controlling your motor functions. That's why you're catatonic. That's why you cannot move, because it is the subconscious that's controlling your neurological patterns, your skeletal system. So as you're going to sleep and you see this image and you can't move, what will happen normally is after 20 to 30 seconds, then your body will start to wake up. Your consciousness obviously is alert. You are frightened. The consciousness takes control of the body and the skeletal system, and then you're able to move. That is sleep paralysis. The same thing when you're just waking up. Okay, so that's what that means. Can you have a demonic issue that's related to sleep paralysis? Certainly you can, but they're going to have other issues besides just a sleep paralysis issue. Okay, so there's a lot more to that than just that. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Yeah, sleep paralysis is very, very important. And again, I'm telling you what a neurosurgeon taught us. So again, if he's quite brilliant, and obviously he's a neurosurgeon. So there we go. Okay. Let's see. Winning? Okay, Marcus, how do we prevent demons from winning? First of all, please understand that a demonic entity, I've said this in Bible study the other day, demonic entities are inferior to God. We have to stop. As a society in whole, we have to stop putting demons here and God here. We need to knock that off. We got to knock it off. Demonic entities are not God. They are created beings by God. They are not all-knowing, all-powerful. They are not God. They are not the Alpha, the Omega. So the idea that we are thinking for some reason that demonic entities are superior to God, we got to knock this off. We have to. So how do you keep them from winning? Well, you keep them from winning because you keep your faith in God, number one. Number two, you do not be their victim. Do not have a victimization mentality. If you do, then they will victimize you. And always, always, always keep faith. Don't ever let the demonic... I don't know. I get frustrated when I hear people victimize themselves, because if they have one stroke of bad luck and one issue of bad, they immediately say it's demons, it's demons, it's demons, it's demons. And it may not be demons at all, but you're giving them credit for something they might not even be doing. So be careful about that. Don't get into that. Don't get into that that pattern of thought. That's very, very, very. That's a scary thing when you start going down that road. So good question though, Marcus. I appreciate that. Okay, faith. That's right. Yeah, faith. You got keep the faith. Well, and you really need to, because when people start thinking, okay, how do we do this? How do we fight them? How do we? Well, don't. First of all, don't pick a fight. Don't seek them out, and never ever invite. Stay away from inviting. You don't ever want to invite, because if you do, then you can get yourself in some serious trouble, and that's just something you just don't want to do. You don't want to go. Just don't go down that road. Okay, just don't, because the moment that you do, and the moment that you give them any type of credibility in your life, they're going to take it. They're going to run with it, and it could be nothing. You could be just having some bad issues in your life, but it could be nothing. Has nothing to do with demons. If I have issues, which I do, I have problems in life, but I don't think demons. I don't do that, and neither should you. Neither should you. Just so please be careful about that, if you would, because a lot of people fall into that category, and that is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is giving demonic entities way too much power over them, and you don't want you just don't want to do that. Okay, but I appreciate the question, so thank you very much. All right. No. Jim says, is it wrong to seek angels or talk to them? Absolutely, it's not wrong. We all have guardian angels. Every single one of us have guardian angels. So it's absolutely not wrong to call upon your guardian angels. And if you need help, then you need to call upon your guardian angel. But remember, because they won't interfere unless you give them permission to. So you simply say, my guardian angel, whoever you may be, I give you permission to intercede on my behalf to help me with, and whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever it is that you're struggling with, whatever that might be, and watch amazing things happen. But you have to be careful of that, because there's a lot of things on people are doing some things on TikTok that's really dangerous, or on social media, period. And you got to stay away from, don't do that. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I would stay away from that. Okay. Oh, you named your guardian angel. Okay. Well, I mean, if you know who your guardian angel is, then you're one of the lucky ones, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people have no idea who their guardian angels are. That's I guess a blessing. Then you know. All right. Well, people have different varieties. They pray. I would certainly say, how do you know? You pray, and but you got to be careful, because you don't want to get into the situation where you're getting into speaking to ghosts or speaking to spirits, and you don't know who they are, and then you're going to find yourself speaking to a demonic entity, and you certainly do not want to do that. So be careful with that. All right. Tell us a story. Well, once there was a child and another child, and they went to a graveyard, and I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you, how many of you, I think some of you might have heard the story of the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That is probably one of the most violent places I've ever been to in my entire life. And I truly mean this. And the Gates of Hell Cemetery, a lot of people don't know. Here's the story of the Gates of Hell that people don't know about. About 18 years ago, no one even knew the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky existed. It's an old abandoned cemetery in a very small town in Kentucky. Nobody I was there in the paranormal community 20 years ago. I know because I was a part of the community. Actually, first time was 35 years ago, and we communicated through Yahoo groups. That's how the paranormal community, well, that's how we communicated. There was no Facebook, there was no YouTube, there was no Twitter. It was Yahoo groups. That's how we all talked to one another. And about 18 years ago, I started the Sacred Division. It was an online radio show at the Para-X Radio Network, one of the actually the first radio network that was paranormal all the time. It was truly groundbreaking stuff because that was new. And so my team member, her job was to find sites that have never been investigated before, that are not even known. And she found an old cemetery in Kentucky that nobody ever heard of. And she said, there's some family members who would like for us to go bless their graves because apparently a lot of bad things have been happening. And let's go. We investigated that place and all hell broke loose. I mean, all hell, we would see hundreds of shadow people, hundreds running around on the outside of the fence. And we would see this. We would have EVPs that are very clear, growls. Matter of fact, I have a growl. I'll even play it. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. And if I can, I will play it for you. This is at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Let me see. Okay. So this is at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. So the story is all hell broke loose. So the next day we were doing our radio show and we were talking about this cemetery. It was not Gates of Hell. It was not known as the Gates of Hell. It was known as KC Cemetery. That's the name. And we were talking about and I still have this recording. We were talking about all the craziness. And I said, guys, this is like being at the gates of hell. And immediately the investigators said, that's it. From now on, we're going to call this the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That is how this cemetery got its name, the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Again, we know this for a fact because we were there, and that's how it all started. And I'm telling you, that's how it's known. And it is the Gates of Hell Cemetery. So we actually went on air. We played some of the EVPs we captured, the growls. I mean, it was intense. And here it is. This is from the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky that yours truly and my team, we named this cemetery, and it is the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Again, I have this recording 18 years ago. Here it is. This is the Gates of Hell Cemetery EVP.
Is there anyone here? Are you friendly?
And keep in mind, now we didn't hear that. So that if we had heard it, that's called a disembodied voice. We didn't hear a growl, but we knew that something wasn't right. We all knew that it was intense. The feeling was overwhelming. I mean, it was really intense. It was heavy. And we felt like someone had just was pushing us down. And we all felt some of us felt sick to our stomach. It was intense. We knew that something bad was there. That's why we had, are you friendly? Because we were all feeling it. And that growl, when I first heard it, I played it back on the recorder. I was stunned because that is rare. When you get an EVP like that, that is rare. So, yep, Suzanne, if you've heard that story, it's because of me and my team. We're the ones who named it the Gates of Hell Cemetery. And I'm telling you, it was, I was there with the three friends. Bishop David Price, as a matter of fact, Bishop David Price, he was one of the people that was actually there. And he'll tell you, as a matter of fact, I've had him on the show, and he's talked about the Gates of Hell, his experience. And it was me and three other people. Now, the Gates of Hell Cemetery, okay, so there's one path in, then there's one path out. It's not a huge cemetery, and there is a fence, like a horseshoe shape fence around the cemetery. And in the very back is unfortunately where people on this dead, huge tree is where they perform satanic rituals. So they have a lot, they've sacrificed animals. They've done a lot of bad things there. And we went to the back of this tree. This was around midnight or so. And it was in the middle of summer. Crickets were going. I mean, this is out in the country. So this is not something, and there's no way. It's a long, windy road. It's off the main road. So you have to know where this is. So, and by the way, when you go on this long, windy road towards the gates of hell, you feel it. I mean, it's about a mile out, and you feel this is not good. I mean, it's that bad. I'm telling you, this place makes Bobby Mackey's look like Disney World. This is no joke. Stay away from it, guys. Please stay away. But while you're going down this road, you start feeling something's not good here. And so you park right in front of it, and there's a huge tree right in the beginning. And there's a path, simple little path, and we walked to this tree. I'll talk. This is one of my scariest experiences. And so we walked to the back of this tree, and this was in the middle of summer, around midnight. We were back there, and the crickets were going off and making their noises. And then the wind started really, really moving the top of the trees. I mean, really causing the trees to sway back. But we didn't feel any wind where we were. We felt no wind, nothing. It was just like the wind was just up here for some. It was really strange. All the trees, and there's lots of trees around you, and there's trees just swaying back and forth. It was just strange. The crickets, everything stopped. Complete silence. We heard nothing. Now, this is the middle of the summer in the country. All we could hear is the wind. We didn't feel the wind. We saw it. And then we saw hundreds of what appear to be shadow people running around on the outside of the fence. We saw them. It's like they were dashing behind each tree. And originally I thought, is this a bunch of, a group of, locals that's trying to scare us away? That's originally what I thought, because there were so many. But then it multiplied. It got more. And I thought, okay, this is not locals. And we were in the back of this tree. Now, there's one way in, one way out. And the shadow people kept going this, and it was like closing us in. We all felt like we were being close because it kept going further and further. So it started here in the back, and it was kept going up. And so we felt like, okay, we're being closed in. So we said, it's time to go. We're not here to perform the minor rite of exorcism. We're just here to investigate, but something's not right here. So we left. So we're going out. We made it out to the exit. One person turned around with a flashlight, and this was a full moon, very clear, and the moon was behind this big tree. And he turned and he put a flashlight right on this tree, huge tree. And his face was white as a ghost. We looked at him and we thought, what the heck, what's going on? And we turned around, all of us. Now, this is all four of us, including Bishop David Price, who was there with me. We saw something in that tree that, to this day, I have talked about this before. I don't know what it was. I would take a lie detector test right now. I wish I could. God, I wish I could. If anybody gives lie detector tests, you and me should talk, and we'll talk about that, and we'll do a live show. We turned around and we saw this massive creature. It looked, the only way I can describe it, to me, it looked like a massive 10-foot bat. It had a long torso, short legs. It was so clear. We could see it. We could see everything. We saw the claws on the feet. We actually could see the claws on the feet. Like the wings were spread out. It had kind of like a body of a man's torso. And so we saw that, but the eyes, it looked like a huge bat, but the eyes were solid red. We don't know. Yeah, a lot of people say it was Mothman. I don't know if it was Mothman, but what I don't know what it was. But it had solid red eyes. It looked right down on us. It didn't say anything. It didn't move. It didn't do anything. We all knew without question that if we stepped 1 inch closer, 1 inch, we knew that we were going to be hurt. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. One step further. And so we hightailed it out of there. We hightailed that. It was and here's what's interesting. So that night I came home, and at that time I had Kylie. Kylie was my 10-pound toy schnauzer, and she had to use the restroom. Okay, so this was late. I got home. I took her outside. Now across the street there's an open field, and there's like a fence there with trees and bushes. You can't really see what's there, but Kylie was doing her business. And it's about 15 feet from me. I heard the deepest growl that I have ever heard in my life. It was as if someone had put a massive bass speaker, full blast, on my back. I could feel it. It was just deep, really deep growl, but it was so powerful and so loud that I could hear it 15 feet away from me. And I swear it was like someone had put a bass speaker. I could feel the grumble, the really deep in my chambers of my chest. I have never in my life have I ever heard something like that. I grabbed Kylie. I said, nope, we're going in. We're going inside. No, we're done. That was, man. And people say, well, it could have been a bear. Well, we do have black bears here in Kentucky, not a whole lot. I've heard bears growl. This was much bigger, much bigger. Have you ever heard? You've heard of a lion? The roar. This was so much deeper and bigger than a lion's roar. I mean, man, it was intense. It was intense. I will never, ever forget it. But yeah, that was, I could feel, I felt that vibration. Man, did I feel that vibration for 15 feet away from me. It was just, someone said Bigfoot. It was whatever it was. It came. No, and I've heard mountains. I've heard mountain lions. No, this was much bigger than a mountain lion. This was, I mean, it went on for, it went on for a little bit. It wasn't the mountain lion. Just, I've heard mountain lions that a mountain lion couldn't even, if I were to compare the growl that I heard to a mountain lion, the growl would have been a 10. Mountain lion would have been a 2. I mean, it was that deep and long. And so, man, that was just, what I did is I grabbed Kylie. When I went into the house, I prayed, but when my instinct was, my concern was the fear of Kylie, because I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know if it was an animal. I didn't know. And my fear was, I got to get my 10-pound dog and I got to grab her and get her in the house now, because I was afraid that whatever it was so big and so huge that it could have easily overpowered me. And I just wanted to save my dog's life. And that's what I did. So I grabbed my dog and I ran inside, and that was, it's crazy. Oracle on the South said, sounds like I'm going to need to interview you on my show, Into the Portal on KGRA. Yeah. I tell you what, I would love to. It's crazy. But yeah, I've investigated so many different places that I have thousands and thousands of stories that I could tell you guys. Speaking of kgradb.com, don't forget, make sure you sign up today. And when you sign up, use the code BISHOP. Because if you use the code BISHOP, you're going to get 30% off your subscription, either a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription. And they have a lot of fantastic shows there, fantastic paranormal shows. So if you love the paranormal, you need to go definitely do that. Again, it's KG as in giraffe, RAD as in dog, B as in boy.com. So KGRADB.com. And make sure you sign up today. If you do that, again, if you sign up, I'm going to send you guys that you can see this. Then you can get 30% off your subscription. And they have a lot of shows. I mean, pretty cool shows. Really, really cool shows. Okay. Yeah, Bobby Mackey certainly will. Am I a haunted bishop? I'm not. An exorcist will always live under the stage of oppression, but I'm not afraid. I'm not frightened by this because demonic entities don't frighten me. I look at demonic entities for what they are: parasites, and they are cowards. They attack people at the most vulnerable state. And so, to me, when I see because they know the end result, they know the end game, and the end game is they're going to lose. And so I'm concerned for the person who's possessed. That's my main concern. Bobby Mackey's, I've talked about Bobby Mackey's before on Ghost Adventures. I'm friends with Zach, and I'm not here to talk about whether you like Zach or not like Zach. Zach is a businessman. He's an executive producer of Ghost Adventures, He's the owner of Ghost Adventures. So his job is to produce shows that obviously gets followers and viewers. That's his job. I told him on the show a long time ago that provoking is very dangerous and that he needs to stop that because it can have some serious consequences. And you got to remember that, and I've told him this, and I'll tell you guys this too. What Zach does is not provoke. Zach invites. So there's a big difference between provoking and inviting. And I've been saying this for 20 years. Please understand that when you're beating your chest and you're saying, come on, demon, I dare you to do something. I dare you. Come on, just show me. You know, that you're not provoking. You're inviting. And there's a big difference between the two. And finally, people I've noticed that a few people are using that line in some of their talks, and that's good because people need to be aware of that, and they need to be aware that this is quite dangerous. And again, thank you so much for the very kind gifts on TikTok. I do seriously thank you. Also, someone did ask me, you can go to Cash App too. I do have Cash App, and it's the $ Bishop James Long, LONG. So if you want to make a donation there to the ministry, you can do that. The $ Bishop James Long, LONG.com. All right. Yeah, I did. I warned him several times, but that's one of the things, Okay, Robert, I'm going to pay your way into an Old South Pittsburgh hospital visit this year somehow when I go. Well, Robert, actually, I was there. I've been there before. As a matter of fact, I was at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital before it became a well-known hospital. I was one of the very few first teams to investigate that hospital. When I went there, it was in rough shape. I mean, when I say rough, it was in really, really rough shape. And a team asked me to come and do some investigation. This was about, I guess, I don't know, 15, 16 maybe years ago. Yeah, it was in bad shape. But it was really cool. It was really interesting. For those of you who don't know, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital is in Tennessee. And it's a very cool place. Really cool. There was an individual who did something that was really interesting. They're kind of trigger sounds. And the belief is that when you play sounds from a place that is, like, for example, in a hospital, if you were to play a heartbeat, like, the machines that go beep, 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 and then maybe flatline, those are considered trigger sounds. And the theory is that playing trigger sounds or even having trigger objects, so let's say objects from a certain period, like at the Civil War In a battlefield, you would have some type of Civil War item, and those are supposed to have the theory of trigger objects will cause spirits then to gravitate towards that. But it was really cool because we were there, and we had a really loud sound system set up, and someone had played. We were the very first team to ever do this. They had played the sounds of the heart monitor, and it would go beep, 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 and it would keep doing this. And then for about a minute or so, and everyone was quiet. It was very eerie, very eerie feeling because it's an old hospital. And then it would flatline. And when it flatlined, that's when activity just seemed to just go off the railings. I mean, it was crazy. We got a lot of EVPs, a lot of activity. It was really, really, it's just weird to experience that. I can't really describe it to you because all the lights pretty much, they're down and it's dark and you're sitting in the hallway and you hear this sound just beeping, this heart monitor beeping. And it just, it was intense. It was for an investigator, that I found that pretty interesting. So, so when the intercoms worked there, I played, so the hospital sounds over the intercom like you. Yep, you would hear. Yeah. And we did this about 17 years ago. So that was pretty crazy. That was really, really crazy. It's a neat place though. Neat. Some good, some bad. Now I will tell you, if you want to investigate a place, you got to be careful. The Bel Air House in Bel Air, Ohio. That's an interesting place. Kristen Lee, she owns it. She is a friend of mine. You can find her on Facebook, or on you can just find her on the web. But Bel Air House, Bellaire, Bel Air House in Bel Air, Ohio. It's in Bel Air, Ohio, and that is a very, very interesting place. I have been there several times, and we always got activity. It's a pretty intense place. Yeah. Oh, you live there. You live near there. Yeah. It's yeah. You can get an attachment from a seminary. Seminary. That's funny. Tad King asks, "Can you get an attachment at the cemetery?" We would always call the seminary cemetery sometimes. Can you get an attachment at the cemetery? Oh, heck, yes, you can. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Yes, you can. There have been thousands of stories where people went to a cemetery, they investigated, they went home, and all hell broke loose. Keep in mind, please keep this in mind, that when you go to a cemetery or any place that's haunted, you're running the risk of an attachment. So you got to be careful, because if you're investigating, that could be some serious things. As a matter of fact, at the Gates of Hell Cemetery, on the way back home, me and a friend, we were driving home. We were on the expressway. I think it was 65, 70 miles per hour. That's the speed limit then. We were driving. No problem. We were talking about our experiences. And I looked over to my buddy, and right there, right in the middle of the car seat, in the middle of the back seat, there was a little boy. I guess maybe he was 10, 12 years old. I don't know. And he was just doing this. And he was just listening to our conversation, just listening to everything that we were saying. And this kid, that was startled me, because I wasn't expecting that. I was not obviously expecting to see some kid. And I pulled over and almost crashed my car. And that was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. That was intense. But yeah, that was well, I always pray the St. Michael prayer. I pray to my guardian angels, and I ask for protection, and that's what I do. So, and by the way, one thing that I always tell people is that if you're going to do EVP, an electronic voice phenomena work, if you do EVP work, I always do preliminary questions first. So I always usually ask 3 preliminary questions. Do you confess Yahweh as your God? Do you kneel before the cross of the Lord? And I'll ask another question, another religious question. And one time when I said, do you confess Yahweh as your God? I got a very clear Class A EVP, Class A. And it said, hell no. And of course, at this place, it's known to be demonic in nature. So I knew then, okay, well, now we go. All right. I have not been to Oja Hospital in Arizona, Kelsey, but it certainly sounds like an interesting place. Is there any, Kelsey's asking on Spreaker, is there anything different from investigating native land than like a house or something? I'm around a lot of native land and would like to understand more. Well, actually, yes. My grandmother, she was Cherokee, and she was a pretty special woman. Now, many understand when you're talking about native land, you're talking about blessed land, because they acknowledge that the land is a blessing from, some would describe as Mother Earth, and it should be sacred. And that land should be always kept and considered sacred, especially in ceremonial grounds. So, but I have noticed, and this is something that I want to point out, as someone I have Native American blood running in my veins, I am a little concerned that every time something violent happens on land, people immediately think Native American. It's Native American. It's those Native Americans doing it again. We gotta kind of reel that back a little bit, because I have noticed that that's happening a lot in the paranormal. That seems to be the first go-to answer. It's those Native Americans, and that's not always the case. So I would have to caution about doing that, because I am seeing that a whole lot. And when you go to investigate, the best thing that I can tell you is go in with an open mind, with trying to debunk. I am a skeptic. I will tell you this right now. I don't care if you tell me that a TV flung across the room and busted out whatever. I'm not going to call you a liar, but I'm going to say, okay, well, unless I see it, I can't verify that it happened. Well, I have video. Okay, but unless I'm there witnessing it, there could be people faking that video. So I'm the type of person, I go in debunking. It's like OCD. I have to debunk it. It's almost like I get this intense craving to debunk the activity, because demonic is the last thing that I think about. That's the very last thing. If things go bump in the night, I'm going to tell you it's going bump in the night because you have old piping in your system or whatever it might be. I'm doing everything that I can explain logically. But then there are those cases where you have to say, okay, I've exhausted everything that I can logically. Now I'm going to have to look at the spiritual aspects of it. And that's what I do. You're right. American Road Warrior said you have to debunk to catch the real. You absolutely always rule out the natural phenomenon first. Well, hello there from Ireland. Well, hello there, my friend. So it is true. It is true. Listen to this. This is guys, listen to this story very quickly. Because I have some stories and I haven't even got to them because this has been such a great conversation. This is really cool. This is a great story. And again, for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm Bishop James Long. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, make sure you go to kgradb.com. KGRAD as in dog, db.com, kgradb.com, and make sure you subscribe today. And the reason you want to do that is because if you use the term bishop, the code bishop, you'll get 30% off the subscription. It's not that much. You can do it monthly or yearly. It's not that much at all, but you get a 30% off just using the term bishop. Don't forget, you got to use the code bishop. So kgradb.com. And I'm telling you, 30% off. They have amazing shows there. Amazing, amazing shows. And if you love the paranormal, you got to check them out, guys. You've got to check them out. But don't forget to use the promo code BISHOP, okay? And don't also forget, you can go to bishopjameslong.com, bishopjameslong.com. I have a store link, but if you buy, keep in mind and remember one more time, the Benedictine bracelet, please don't buy that right now because that's on way back order. So buy the new one that has the 4 faces if you're going to purchase them, okay? Yeah, show us in sign language. Yeah, I wish I knew sign. But listen to this. This is crazy. Listen to the story. Spontaneous human combustion, the baffling burning death. Have you guys heard of this before? Most of you have. This is from Anon Alien. I can't in Ottawa, Illinois, a 200-pound woman sitting near her sleeping husband suddenly burst into flames. So intense, they reduced her body to ashes and asphyxiated her mate. So in St. Petersburg, Florida, a 67-year-old widow was seated in an overstuffed chair with spontaneous fire enveloped her, turning chair and woman to ashes, but not damaging the room. Guys, what in the world? So in Pontiac, Michigan, a 30-year-old man was severely burned while sitting in his auto after having committed suicide, and his clothing wasn't even scorched. How is that possible? In countries all over the world and in cities throughout the United States, this baffling burning death has consumed human beings in a manner wholly incomprehensible. No one knows why it occurs or how often. And in more than 100 recorded cases, no common denominator has been established for the victims. We can't figure out why it's happening. Skeptical? Well, I am too. But this strange malady, the burning death, is certainly not listed in the standard nomenclature of disease or in the World Health Organization's classification of death causes. But this author has talked to doctors, firemen, and special investigators who had contacted with his ghastly results. And the person says, I talk with relatives of the victims. They says, I talked to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well. And suddenly the idea of the burning death wasn't so ridiculous. It wasn't a gag or hoax or pipe dream. Instead, it was a serious threat, made infinitely more terrifying by our very lack of knowledge about it, by our inability to even guess who might be susceptible to it. Only one thing is sure. There will be more victims, possibly you, possibly me. Now, understandably, you don't believe in it yet. Okay, fine. But what follows may change your mind. Charles Dickens was familiar with the burning death and bumped off one of his characters in Bleak House with it, for which he received a storm of criticism. People tend to disbelieve it merely because it sounds so strange. And even the authorities involved in such cases are inclined to doubt the evidence before them. That's the way it was with a case that occurred in Honolulu in December 1956. Miss Virginia Cagé, and sensed something amiss in the next room where her 78-year-old cripple named Young Sik Kim lived. So she dashed in to find him wrapped in blue flames, too hot to approach. And when firemen got there 15 minutes later, the victim and his overstuffed chair were in ashes. All that remained were Kim's undamaged feet, still resting on his wheelchair where he propped them. The flammable curtains and some clothing hangings nearby were unharmed. Yet the radiant heat from a fire capable of doing such destruction to the man may have been enormous. Investigating officials could give no answer. Similar cases have been noted throughout America since the days of the colonists. Now, but the first to be reported in considerable detail concerned the fate of Patrick Rooney and his wife in Illinois. So for those of you who don't know, on the evening of December 27th, 1885, the Rooneys and their hired hand, John Larson, were drinking freely at the kitchen table from a jug of Christmas spirits. About midnight, Larson decided he had had enough and staggered upstairs to bed. But his employers were still at the jug. When Larson came down in the morning to do his chores, his lantern revealed a grisly scene. The kitchen reeked of nauseating odor, and thick, oily soot coated everything. Pat Rooney lay dead on the floor beside the table. Hefty 200-pound Miss Rooney was nowhere in sight. So summoned by Larson, the police investigated and found the ugly soot had even drifted upstairs, outlining the hired's hand on the pillow as he slept. So in the kitchen, they found a 3 by 4 foot hole through the floor, and on the board ground, a couple of feet below, all that remained of the big woman, a burned piece of skull, 2 charred vertebrae, a few foot bones, and a pile of ashes. No other part of the floor was burned. And although a corner of the tablecloth hung over the hole, it was only slightly browned. Explain this to me. Unable to pin the rap on Larson, the authorities finally ruled that Miss Rooney had died of burns of unknown origin and that Pat Rooney had suffocated from the fumes. But no one attempted to explain the minimal damage to the house, despite the fact that a fire hot enough to incinerate Miss Rooney would have had to reach a temperature. Listen to this. Listen. The fact that a fire hot enough to incinerate Mrs. Rooney would have had to reach a temperature of 3,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Folks, explain that to me. I mean, I can't explain it. If I had this case, I don't know. I just don't know. Now, the burning death has been termed SHC. SHC stands for spontaneous human combustion. It's a condition in which all cells, this is interesting, it's a condition in which all cells of the body suddenly begin burning simultaneously through an inexplicable self-combustion. 3,000 to 5,000 degree Fahrenheit? That is, man, I don't know. That to me, when you're dealing with something like this, that's I can't explain it. If someone here can, that would be great. But for me, I can't explain it. It doesn't make sense to me. So there we go. But spontaneous combustion is not something that's. Well, see, I'm not for sure in Celsius. Anybody know what 3 to 5,000 degree Fahrenheit to Celsius would be? Because I understand some people. So if anybody could do a Google check on that, I would appreciate that. So what would be 3 to 5? Let's just say 4,000. 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit is what in Celsius? That would be interesting. So if anybody can Google that, that would be great. I don't want to Google because I have so many windows open. I don't want to freeze the site. So 4,000 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so Kitty Boop says 5,432 Celsius. My goodness. Well, if 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit is what 5,430 degrees or so Celsius, there we go. If or you can, if that's not correct, just let me know. 4,000 degrees Celsius, that Fahrenheit, that's intense. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But listen to this. This is a very interesting story, and I want to share this. Okay, I want to share this with you. This is crazy. Or this person says 300 degrees. Okay, and I don't know about this one, guys, but this is from WBZ News Radio. Okay, so this is from a news radio station, WBZ News Radio 1030. Now, explain this. A naked alien from outer space photographed in part of Montana known for UFO sightings. Again, you can check this out. It's WBZ News Radio 1030. Okay, so hunters oftentimes set up cameras on trees deep in the woods to see what kind of wildlife lives in the area. But one in Montana captured a very strange creature. So odd that it might not be from this planet. It was snapped by Donald Bromley's camera deep in the woods of Red Gate in Deer Lodge, Montana, and it shows an eerily shaped gray humanoid. I've seen the picture. The area where it was photographed is a hotspot for paranormal activity. Now, Bromley told the local news station that there are often UFOs, lights in the sky, unexplainable things there. Now, among the strangeness is in the area, cars mysteriously stall on the roads for no reason. Now, Bromley spoke about the image, saying he first thought it was just a person, but he said, the more I look at it, it was just odd. It was out of place, and everything just matches the alien persona. The bigger the head, and you can tell that he has no clothes, this kind of transparent being. Now, a nearby resident, Patrick Cutler, has produced a documentary about the area and its unexplained incidents. He posted an interview with Donald in which Bromley describes more details surrounding the photo. Now, Donald reveals that he has dozens of cameras in the woods, all with the same type of battery, which lasts a year. But when he went to this particular camera, it was dead just after 2 months. Some people say, well, it could be a bad camera. He downloaded the photos off of the camera, and the last one it took, he says, was that of the alien. Now, Bromley adds that the location off the camera makes it incredibly unlikely that the picture is of human, explaining that he was only able to access it because it was near a secure private ranch where he worked. But according to him, quote, to get to that spot publicly, it's miles, literally miles to get there, and you probably have to drop 1,000 feet in elevation just to get to that point. It's unrealistic. So additionally, none of the other nearby cameras were triggered, and they would have been if someone was walking by. So check, guys. It's pretty crazy. Oh no, I gotta block somebody who keeps posting ridiculous stuff. But yeah, let me just. I don't know if I can. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can. It is interesting. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Okay. Hang tight because I'm trying to show this for you. I mean, you can always Google it, and you can find it. You can see it for yourself. But let me see if I can share it with everybody. Unfortunately, I remember I have TikTok too, so TikTok can't watch this stream. But this is, let me see if I can share it. Hang on, everybody. It's not a, share screen, window, share. So that's this. And again, what he said is there's no way that it could not. I got to turn this. Let me turn this thing off here. Well, yeah, you guys, well, there you go. That's as good as I can get it for it because it's going to turn green. But it is transparent, and that's what he said he doesn't understand, because if it was a human being, it wouldn't be transparent like that. You could actually see it. And but take a look at it anyway. The place again, for those of you who want to know, it's part of Montana. It's known for a lot of UFO sites, and it's Donald Bromley, Bromley, and it's in Red Gate. It's in Deer Lodge, Montana. So there you go. Take a look at that. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take a look at that, and then you guys will know. It's I'm telling you, it's pretty cool. It really is very, very cool. Again, whether or not you agree with it or you think it's just a person, I don't know. But again, this individual says, nope. It's clear that there's something going on, because he knows a lot about cameras. I don't, as far as that is concerned. He's absolutely convinced there's something there. So yeah, you're right. Skinwalker Ranch sees a lot of UFOs. I've never been there. I do baptize, yes. I've never been to Skinwalker Ranch. I've always wanted to go there. That would be a very cool place to investigate. Very cool place. But I've never been to Skinwalker Ranch. A lot of crazy things. Okay, can you ask him what does the church feel about aliens? I do believe that, and even the Roman Catholic Church said this as well, I do believe that there is something there. I don't believe that we are the only living beings in the entire universe. Only because, do you realize, listen to this, in our solar system alone, I want you to think about this for a second, okay? Just hold on. Now, I went to space camp as a kid, so I'm kind of a space nerd. I love space, love it. I can go to Kennedy Space Center and in Florida, and I could be there for a month and not get tired. I mean, listen to this statistic. This is how huge our solar system is. If you were to go 42,000 miles per hour, think about it. I can't even imagine 42,000. 42,000 miles per hour from Earth to Jupiter, traveling 42,000 miles per hour. Think about that. Do you know it would take you 10 years to get to Jupiter? And that's in our tiny bitty solar system. Our solar system is just a speck of dust in the universe. Literally a speck of dust. 42,000 miles per hour. It would take you 10 years to get to Jupiter. So if you can think about that, it gives you an idea of how huge our solar system is. So I do believe, yes, I do believe that there is alien life, and I absolutely believe that eventually we are going to have conclusive evidence. People have already said we're getting this evidence already, and it's interesting how even the United States government and many governments all around the world are finally coming clean and releasing previously very highly classified documents on UFOs. Even the government has now acknowledged there's something there. Our fighter jets can't even keep up with something that's flying in the sky. People say it's a drone. Folks, there's no drone that's going to be past an F-16. It's impossible. I mean, it is we have one of the most advanced fighter jets in the world. There's no drone that's going to go faster than one of our fighter jets. It's not possible. But there's something that's moving. That's not just going at there's something there. I do believe. I absolutely believe there's something going on. And actually, Robert, there's not theologians, actually NASA. NASA hired theologians from all around the world, all denominations, to study the effects of humans if they were told about aliens. That was actually NASA did this. NASA. So think about that for a moment. So I do believe that it's going to get to a point where eventually the evidence is going to be so clear that it's going to be undeniable. Folks, I want to thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. For those of you who are listening to us on Spreaker, I want to say God bless you and have a beautiful evening. And for those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and KGDR, and make sure you go there. Don't go kgradb.com. Don't forget. And the code word is Bishop. Sign up. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all of you guys. Remember, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You are priceless, and never let anyone tell you or convince you otherwise. God bless you guys. We'll see you next Wednesday for Bible study. Bye-bye, everybody. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.